my co-host.
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, now I'll start again. Hi, I'm Leslie Hawker, and my co-host is Deborah Lowry, right next door to me. Thanks, Deb. We are going to have a series for new notary education. The reason for this is because we have a lot of notaries who don't know what they're doing. You have a stamp. We have people on here tonight. Have a stamp, haven't used it. Had it for a year, haven't stamped it. Yeah. I saw some people yesterday. They have a stamp. They used it incorrectly. So we're here to teach you. Michigan has no training, no formal training. So we got to do it ourselves. And I take calls every single day from notaries who are stuck. So here we are trying to keep people from being stuck, trying to help you make money using your commission. We are here to help. Okay. We are going to keep this to an hour tonight. And the reason for that is because we are trying to figure out how long it's actually going to take to get all the way through all the training that you need to become a notary. Okay. Somebody's making noise.
I want to add that we are not lawyers. We are not, we're not offering legal advice. This is meant to be of help to you, but we are in no way dispensing legal advice.
Correct. Ditto. Ditto for everybody here. Okay, so there's a mantra that we all need to remember. Okay, and this one is super important. You know what? Everything we say tonight is super important. But I want you to write this down at the top of your page. We don't notarize documents. We notarize signatures. Okay. So when you get a document, you don't know what it is, don't be scared, because guess what? It's all about the signature. It's not about what the document says. Okay. So we are thinking this is going to be a 6-week recurring education series. Might be 4, might be a little more. We don't know. We're going to figure it out. We're going to encompass all the things you need to know to be a notary. It begins with the most often asked questions and ends with notarial law. Law is going to come into play all the way through here. And the reason it's going to come into play is because everything we're going to teach you is law. It's not made up. We're not making our own laws. We're not trying to make people think that, you know, we know something that you don't know. That is not a true story at all. The things that we talk about pertain to Michigan. They don't pertain to Ohio. They don't pertain to California. We don't talk about other states because that doesn't matter except for a few things. And we will get to that. Okay. We suggest this course for all new notaries. So if you know somebody else who's become a notary, please ask them to join us on Wednesday evenings at 7 o'clock. We're going to be updating this as needed and update it as the laws change, if the laws change. So we're going to get started. This is strictly how to be a notary within the parameters of the law in Michigan. It's not anything to do about how to start or run a business. Okay, this is how to notarize. This portion of the new notary education will concentrate on the act of notarization. It will teach how to notarize. If you still need to learn the laws of notarizing in Michigan, please attend our Monday, My Lona Monday sessions every Monday morning at 9 a.m. And you can catch the replays on YouTube at Detroit Deb 1718. And we will cover laws in the last couple hours of this. Okay. Stephen Covey says to begin with the end in mind. It's one of the habits of highly effective people. So when we're educating, we want to think along that line too, because many people just want to know how to do it. So like the biggest thing we get is people not knowing. They're like, I'm afraid to do it. So I want to share a screen with you. Actually, Debbie's going to do it. And we're going to go through how to fill out a notarial block. Okay. If you have had the opportunity to print this, then please do. But we are going to go through these notarial blocks one by one by one, because this is what we do. And the reason I want you to print these is because I want you to practice notarizing so that when you walk into somebody's home, you don't look like you don't know what you're doing. So send the email to Debbie and ask for this file. Print it, practice it, okay? practice, state of, county of, acknowledgement before me, what do I put in this line? You're going to see that all of these blocks are different. And the reason they're different is because Michigan does not care what a notarial block looks like, but they do have elements that have to be included in every notarial act. Okay, so we're going to start here. This is, so we have state of and county of, and I would like a volunteer, if somebody would volunteer to answer the questions. If you get them wrong, it's okay. No one's going to crucify you. I just need somebody to participate. Who would like to participate? I'm going to just call somebody if you don't just come off mute and say, Tiffany. All right, you go, girl. Tiffany, yes. All right. So we have state of and county of. What goes there? If you are not in the county that you are commissioned in, even if you are, let's say, and I don't care where you're at, let's say you're in St. Clair County while you're doing this notarization. What do we put there? State of what? County of what?
Yep, Michigan.
And what county?
The county that the notarization is taking place in.
Okay, so we said we're in St. Clair County.
St. Clair County, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Perfect.
So the thing to remember, an easy way to remember, this is where your feet are planted. This is where you're standing when you're doing the notarization.
Yes. So where you are located is part of your stamp. So, or where you're commissioned is part of your stamp. Where you're located at the time you do it is what goes there. And the instrument that was acknowledged before me on, what goes in that blank, Tiffany?
The instrument was acknowledged before me on the date that the signing is taking place.
Correct. The date that you are signing this block.
Okay. So we're going to just call it today.
Yep. And then it says by. And let's say our signer is Joseph John Schmo. What do we put in here by?
Joseph John Schmo.
Right. So however the name is written in the document, printed in the document, that's what goes there. And if it's 2 people, then both their names go there. If it's 3, then all their names go there. But that name needs to be exactly the way it is in the document. Okay. You can't say Joseph Schmo, because if it says Joseph John Schmo and you write Joseph Schmo, that's not valid. Okay. And then you have a line below that. What do we do there?
See, the instrument was acknowledged before me on by Joseph Schmo.
You mean this line, Leslie, or this line?
Nope, the one above it.
This one?
Yeah, the long one.
I'm not sure. Let's see here.
We leave it blank.
I was about to say I didn't think anything needed to go there. Look, you tricked me there.
Okay. If you have more than one signer, their name will go here.
Then their name goes there. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And then what goes above the words notary public?
My name.
What name?
The name as I'm commissioned under. So, and I believe this would be signed.
That's your signature goes there.
Yes.
Give me one moment. I have to take this call.
All right. I'll see if I can sign my name. Get fancy. I usually don't use these tools, so I'm practicing here, folks.
Okay, sorry. I'm back.
I don't know why my D disappeared.
Why that was like disappearing ink.
I know, that was crazy.
Oh my gosh. Okay, we know you're signing there. Okay.
Okay.
What goes next to Mike? It's so weird. What goes next to my commission expires? Tiffany.
The date that my commission expires. So I just normally, sometimes I forget. I don't know how I forget, but I normally take a look at my stamp to make sure I put it in correctly. But
Okay, perfect. And then where do you put your stamp on here?
Well, on this one here, I try to put it as far as in the area of where my signature is, as close to the signature.
That's exactly it. That's the exact thing, as close to the signature as possible without covering any typed words.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Good job. Now we'll go to the next one.
I do have a stamp on this page, but I can't move I think that
You're
trying to
disappearing.
sign. It did. It messed me up. Oh, Celine's trying to get in. Hold on, let her in.
Got it. I got it.
Okay.
You're good.
All right. Let me stop doing that. Oh, here we go. Okay.
I have a question real quick.
Okay.
So the block you were just filling out, is that what's in that link that you just sent? Or
Yes.
is this supposed to?
No.
So those are what? Okay, because I have printouts of acknowledgements and jurats.
Okay.
Is that different
You need a
than?
blue certificate?
So your acknowledgements and jurats are definitely things you need to know how to fill out. These are sample notarial blocks that I've gathered from all different documents that I've done over the last couple years.
Okay. See, that's what I'm wondering. Like that, what you just fake filled out, it looks, like an acknowledgement. So I'm just trying to make sure that's
an acknowledgement.
Trying to follow along with what papers I have.
Sure, absolutely. Much. Debbie, that is the weirdest thing that's happening.
I know. I'm just gonna try to clear it off. There we go. Okay.
There you go. All right. So the next one though, Shelby, you see this one's a little bit different?
Yes.
So what is this one?
The top one or the bottom one?
The top
this
one.
This one.
It's firmly in the square.
That's for affirmation.
Okay, this is called a jurat.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Sorry.
So when you see subscribed, sworn, affirmed, that means you have to issue an oath.
Yeah.
And by law, that oath needs to be verbal. You need to say words and they need to say a word back to you, acknowledging it. Like it needs to be verbal unless the person is nonverbal. Okay.
Okay.
And I'm going to add that in because I actually had a nonverbal person the other day. That's so weird that it happened, but it did. So you will, when you see this, you will ask them to raise their right hand and attest or swear or affirm that the contents of the documents are true and that they're signing of their own free will. And they will say, yeah, and you'll say yes. All they have to do is say yes. You just need to hear something back. And usually it's yes. I've never had anybody say no. I have had people say, I don't swear. So I say the word attest because I don't feel like dealing with that. I know they're all saying the same thing. I know some realtors who don't give the oath and they say, well, they're signing it. However, Michigan law does say they have to actually say the words. You've got to raise the hands and say the words and make it official. You are a public official. You need to do this. You need to make sure you're saying the words. So let's go through this block. Shelby, do you want to fill in the blanks for us? And let's say we're in Washtenaw County.
All right, state of Michigan, county of Washtenaw.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want me to keep going or wait for her?
I do, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, keep going.
Read it as if you're filling it in as you're going along.
Signed or scribed and sworn to or affirmed before me on this 4th day of January 2023 by, what's my fake name? Or am I going to use my name?
Pick a name, whatever name you
want. We'll say Bob Dylan.
All right, keep going. Keep going.
Bob Dylan Prove to me on the basis of satisfactory evidence to be a person who appeared before me. And then the notary public signature would be Bob Dylan, correct?
Incorrect. That is, you are the notary public, so that's where you sign.
Oh, see, I'm getting Bob Dylan's the signee then, I guess.
Bob will have
He
signed
signed the document.
The person taking the affirmation, I guess, would be
Okay, so Bob would have
Dylan,
signed
and then
Bob would have signed above the notarial block. Signers never sign after the notarial block. They're always before it. The signature will always be above state of Michigan. So when it says notary public signature, who's the notary public?
obviously me, Bob Dylan's the one doing the affirmation.
So you will have said to Bob, I need you to raise your right hand and attest that the contents of the documents are true and you're signing of your own free will. And he will say yes, and he will sign, and then you fill out this block and you sign the notary public signature, and then you put when your commission expires. Okay. And then you stamp it. Okay.
And we have to do one of these for every notarial act, correct?
This is a notarial act.
Well, I mean, like, but if it's like some sort of other paper is what I'm thinking. I don't know.
Okay, tell me what you're thinking, because I want you to have it straight in your head.
I'm not sure. I guess go ahead. Just
okay. So most
of the time,
let's just stop for a second, because I think I understand what Shelby's asking.
I think so too. Yeah.
So on the documents, a client gives you a document. There's a notarial block. We're showing you the notarial blocks that may or may not be on a document. Those loose certificates that you have, you use in the instance where a notarial block is not on the document, because you still need to sign as a notary, and you need the notarial block and you need the wording. And if it's a jurat, and you can't determine whether a client needs an acknowledgement certificate or a jurat certificate, you have to ask them, do you need, and they probably won't know. So you'll have to explain. An acknowledgement says, I watched you sign. The jurat says, I gave you an oath and you swore to the validity of the statements in the document. And they have to choose. You can't choose for them. So that's where those loose certificates are used when there is no notarial block, or the notarial block is incomplete.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yes.
Okay. We'll pull one of those up in a bit so you can see how those look different. But probably 90 to 95% of the things that you notarize will have a notarial block on the page. So you'll be pulling those loose certificates very seldom, but have them with you, because as soon as you don't, that's when you're going to need it.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. All right. Let's move to the next page. The next one. Deb.
Okay, hold on. Let me clear this. I'm learning. Clear my drawings. Oh, and your seal. No, see where it says seal? This is where you would drag you would stamp. And you always want to try to stamp as close to your signature as possible. So you're not going to stamp. I mean, you can. This is big because I blew it up on my screen, but you wouldn't put it like way over here. You'd put it as close to your signature as possible.
Angela, what's your question? You're on.
She's coming.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to hit it and it's hitting something else here. So I don't have any of thank goodness I haven't had to do any of them yet, but how do I go about getting those like loose acknowledgement, those loose forms?
So you can get them on the state of Michigan website. You can get them on the NNA website, or you can make your own. I made my own, so I don't have to write all the stuff every time because I'm lazy. If you want to send me an email, I will send you what I have and you can just change it to your stuff.
Okay, I'll do that. All right. Thank you.
Put your email in the, put your email in the.
Put my email in chat. Jeez, oh,
there you
go. Okay. All right. So Tiffany brought up a good point, but we're going to get to that, but we'll talk about it now since it's there. So Debbie, can you put your stamp up there again? Just move your stamp down somewhere. Just put it anywhere on the page. Oh, there it is. Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right. So Okay, so the stamp has to say certain words. Michigan doesn't require a stamp, but your notarial act has to have certain words on it. The absolute easiest way to make sure that your notarial act is valid is to have your stamp have all the right words on it. Then you don't have to add anything, okay? Yeah. So it has to have your name on it as commissioned, okay? So whatever it says on that top line, you have to sign it that way. Like Deborah Lowry cannot sign D. Lowry. That signature needs to match whatever it was that you sent to the state. And it needs to reflect the very latest version of what you sent to the state. So for instance, back in February of last year, I broke my arm, my right arm, and I'm right-handed. So I had to send to the state my name signed with my left hand, so that if any of those notarizations that I did come through as, contested, they would be able to pull up that from this date to this date, I was signing with my left hand and it looked like this, okay? So when I got my cast off and I was healed and started writing with my right hand again, I had to send a new one over with my signature the correct way. We have another lady who had broken her hand and she could no longer make her A's the same way. And A was her middle initial as part of her signature. So she had to change her signature that's on file with the state. So however they see it last, that's how that needs to be. The second line needs to say Notary Public, State of Michigan. The third line needs to say county of whatever county you are commissioned in. The fourth line needs to say my commission expires with the date that your commission expires. And the last line needs to say acting in the county of with a line afterwards. My acting in the county of is left margin so that I have room to write it in. But this is
shrunk
fine.
it down. Yeah, I shrunk this down.
Oh, you shrunk it down. Okay.
Yeah.
So then you are required to write in where you are notarizing if you're not in the county that you're commissioned in. I personally don't ever leave a blank. So I personally I write, I don't care if I'm in Macomb County or not, I always write it in. You don't have to, but you do have to have all of those other elements along with your signature and the date that you're signing it. That is a valid notarization. All this other stuff doesn't even need to be there. That's what needs to be there. You can go meet somebody somewhere where they write a piece of paper on a napkin that says the sky is green today. I need that notarized. They sign their name. Again, just like I said in the beginning, we notarize signatures, not documents. Doesn't matter if the sky is green or purple, whatever, it's the signature. He wants it notarized, you notarize it, and you can literally just stamp, sign, date, that's notarized. That is legal in Michigan. Okay.
All right, so
now,
here's a quiz. Here's a quiz for everyone. Does this county of need to match this county of? Let me get a show of hand. Give me a thumbs up. I think that's one of the things you can give. Give me a thumbs up if that's the right answer. Let me give you guys a second to get your thumbs up. You can use the
I don't think they're easy to find on a phone though.
Oh yeah, on the phone, probably not.
Yeah, a lot of people on the phone. So it is thumbs up. Yes, acting in the county of is the same as
this
county
one
of.
and that. So that's a good tip for you. Those two should match.
So let's go to Tiffany's suggestion here, where she says to get a small stamp too. So
yes,
typically when you order a stamp, it's going to be, I don't know, that big, like 2.5 inches long by 1 inch tall. You can get a mini stamp where they shrink it down, and there's going to be some things that mini stamp will come in handy. So if you're ordering 2 stamps, get 2 different sizes. Don't get 2 of the same size.
This is a regular size stamp.
Put the mini one right next to it, Deb.
All right, hold on. I gotta move to the mini stamp. Hold
on. Okay. There's a bunch of little different stamps that we'll talk about getting that are really they come in handy. But the 2 different size stamp is a good thing. Now, again, Michigan doesn't require a stamp, but if you're going to use an embosser, you have to use your stamp too. So you can't just emboss anything. Okay. Oh, look at that. Okay. So let's see the bottom. Oh, look at the big difference. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good job. Okay.
Yeah.
Chris, what's your question?
I just wanted to confirm. So as a notary, we'd be able to, a notary in the state of Michigan, we can notarize documents in any other county in the state besides the one that we're commissioned in?
Yes.
Correct.
You can travel wherever you want in Michigan and notarize. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Now there are different shaped stamps if you want them. You don't have to be that fancy. The square stamp seems to work better for anything. Yes, Cecilia, I use an embosser all the time. If a document is leaving Michigan, typically they want it embossed. I have had to use my embosser just in the last 2 weeks. I think I've used it 7 times. So yes, but I do a lot of notarizations. So, I mean, a lot of people don't do a lot of notarizations, and you can get away without the embosser if you don't really need it. So,
yeah. And I mostly use mine when people ask for it. Oh, you don't put the thing on there? Like, do you really want it? If they really ask for it, I give it to
so
you.
the embosser, again, cannot be used alone. You can't use the embosser unless you're using a stamp. You can't write it all out. You have to use the stamp. Amber, what's your question?
What's the embosser? I think I'm getting confused.
Deb, do you have that right there? She'll show you. It crimps the page. So it like goes over the top and crimps the page and gives like a raised seal.
Oh, okay. The seal thingy. Okay, I got it.
Yeah, yeah. You know, there's all kinds of things. They call your signature a seal. They call your stamp a seal. They call the embosser a seal. So you gotta know the terminology and kind of like make it annoying. Okay. Yeah, there you go. There it is. Okay. Let's move on now. Let's go on to another notarial block, Deb.
Okay.
Let's go to one that's
I did want to clarify that you did say it, maybe you, because I was moving around. While Michigan doesn't require us to have a stamp, if you're working on real estate documents, you definitely need a stamp. So for sure, you got to have it.
Go back to the one you just scrolled by. That one.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's where we were. Okay.
Okay. All right. Who wants to go through this one? Volunteer. Chris, I think you can help us with this.
Okay.
You are so brand new. We're gonna make you just come right out there and do it.
So we're gonna state of Michigan.
Yep.
County of the county.
What county are you in? Whatever county you're in.
Washtenaw. Okay, so you're stamping in Washtenaw?
I'm stamping in Washtenaw, and the county is Washtenaw.
Awesome. Okay.
Is that how you spell it? I think I spelled it wrong earlier.
Is.
That's the right way. Washtenaw. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Keep going, Chris.
The foregoing instrument was acknowledged before me on this, the day of the 4th of, what is this, January?
Last I checked. Yep.
By?
No, you got to put 2022 or 2023 on there.
January 2023?
Yep. Debbie, can you put the 2023? There we go.
And that would be by the person, Dave Wilson.
Dave Wilson. All right. And then
look at that one. Dave Wilson. Dave Wilson.
Okay, and then notary signature.
Notary signature, that would be my signature, Christopher Sloan.
Right. And then, so do you know what to do with the rest of this?
No.
Okay.
I know what commission, but the notary type name.
So you're going to handwrite your name, but it's going to be printed nicely so they can read it. It's basically going to copy your stamp. So it's going to be whatever your commission name is, acting in the county of, and that's going to match the county of up above. It says Notary Public, State of Michigan, and that's going to be where you're commissioned. And then my commission expires is when your commission expires. And even though all of this is there, if you're doing a real estate loan, you have to stamp it too. So all of that there, plus the date and your signature, make it a legal notarization, but you still have to have your stamp there too. I mean, always default to a stamp if you can fit it in there. So there are sometimes a stamp doesn't fit on a page, never on real estate, you'll always fit on real estate. But if you ever have to be a notary during a court hearing, like I get called to people's houses and I have to watch them be in court and then sign their documents for court. There's literally nowhere for you to put a stamp on there. They have filled the whole page with everything, but there's also all of the elements aren't there on the court page. So I will fill their page out and then I always add a loose acknowledgement. Actually, it's a jurat because it's already a jurat. So I add it loose on there before they send it in so that it comes in and it's got all the legal elements of it, okay? So I want to move on from this. I want you guys to actually send the email to myself or to Debbie and we'll send these to you. Practice these, print them out, practice filling them out. If you want a critique, scan it back to us and we'll let you know if you did it right. I don't want you going out wondering what to do. So this is going to help you, okay? We're going to move on to the next topic.
There was one more. There was one more that you definitely wanted. Wait, let me clear these. Clear drawings. You wanted to talk about.
Oh, the one at the end.
This one.
Right.
Was that it?
Nope.
No.
Nope.
Keep going.
Nope. Nope.
Oh,
That
there
one.
we go. This one.
Okay.
It's too big.
So this one, this is an example of when you cannot be a witness and a notary on the same document. So on all the other notarial blocks in this package, you can be a witness and a notary if the document requires witnesses. Now there are witnesses, we'll go through that another time, but powers of attorney require witnesses. Sometimes the powers of attorney requires witness and notary. Wills require witnesses. Sometimes a will requires a witness and a notary. We can't tell them that. That's practicing law. You just go along with whatever they're doing because we can't tell them they're doing it wrong. You have to be able to read the notarial block to see if you can be a witness and a notary. Okay, so the signer's name, you'll see at the top of this one, it's the testator. That's the signer's name. If that signer's name is above, hold on. Okay, okay, so the signer's name is there and then the witnesses sign, and then in the notarial block, it says acknowledge and subscribe before me. So it's an acknowledgement by means of physical presence or online notarization. So we're in person, we're going to check the physical presence box by the testator, which is the guy that signed it. And then insert signer's name here. So you would write that person's name there. There should be a line, but there's not. Who has produced a driver's license issued by whatever state it was. It contained his photograph and signature as identification and sworn to and subscribed before the witnesses. That means you have to sign, you have to swear them in.
Mm-hmm.
And then if it was before me by the witnesses, the next line is who the witnesses are. That means you cannot be a witness and a notary on this document, okay? And you have to also identify those witnesses, put them in your book, put them in your journal, just like you did before. So in this case, you would need to take 2 witnesses with you, or they would need to have 2 witnesses who are not related to them and who are not profiting from whatever the document is. So like if it's Debbie and she wants to give all of her wealth to me when she dies, I can't witness the document. We're not related, but she's given me all her money. I'm speaking that into existence, Deb. And we, so I can't witness that document, nor can I notarize it, okay? So it has to be people who aren't related. So friends or you know, friends of friends, whatever. It has to be people that aren't going to be.
Yep. Neighbors. I've had lots of neighbors. I've had family members of people in the hospital, like the bedmate, roommate, their spouse or whatever, a visitor, as long as they're not related.
Yep. And typically people who work at hospitals, nursing homes, things like that will not act as witnesses. So don't rely on that, and just know that before you go there. Take someone yourself, because like I've got a whole bunch of witnesses that I take with me. If you ever need a witness, call me, I'll find somebody for you. But you can't rely on hospital staff, and their laws or rules, whatever there is, because if it gets contested in court, they're not going to take a day off work to go to court because they're not getting paid. So that's why they don't do that. Shelby, you had a question?
Yes. So in our journal, I know it's depending on the state where they have to fingerprint and the journal entry. Is that something Michigan does?
No. Michigan,
no,
they don't talk about journals, or they don't talk about fingerprinting at all.
Okay.
We don't have the authority to fingerprint, but when I talked to the Office of the Great Seal about that, they said they don't even mention it. There's nothing about it they talk about. So
okay. I just know like some states require it next to the journal entry, but I could never find out if Michigan.
Yeah. Nope, they don't.
Did it.
They don't.
Okay.
I don't do it. I never have. They're signing my book. It should be good enough. Their signature matches. So we're good.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So let's move on now. How do we know if it's an acknowledgement or a jurat? And what is a jurat? And what if it doesn't have a notarial block? So Deb, how do we know if it's an acknowledgement or a jurat?
In the notarial block, it will say acknowledged before me or something along those lines. If it is a jurat, it will say subscribed and sworn or affirmed, or what's the other word?
Attested.
Attested, thank you. Or attested before me. It'll say that in the wording in the notarial block.
So what if it doesn't have a notarial block, but they need it notarized? What do we do in that case, Deb?
You use one of the loose papers.
Certificates. Very good. Shelby. There you go.
How do you know which one to use?
The jurat is the one where you like a oath or affirmation, and the acknowledgement is just you witnessing them signing something.
But how do you know which one to use?
You don't. The client has to tell you.
Very good. How do you describe it to the client so that they can make that decision?
Very good question.
Okay, Debbie, how do you describe it to the clients?
I would say this, an acknowledgement certificate just says, I watched you sign. And the jurat certificate means I've issued you an oath and you've sworn to the validity of the statement in the document.
Very good.
Gotcha.
Gotcha. Okay, good. All right. So let's move on from here. See what's next on my list. Okay. So I want to go through some very common new notary mistakes. Un momento. Wow. One of the common mistakes is not reading the certificate wording carefully. Okay. So it is really easy to feel uneasy when you go in. Like, you're not looking at this paperwork ahead of time. You don't know what it says. Unless you're doing a loan signing and you can read it all before you get there. You're basically going to walk into the house. You're going to be handed a piece of paper and they're going to say, I need this notarized. Okay. So you have to be professional. You've got to take a moment and read that document. Not the document, read the notarial certificate. So you're going to breeze through the document to make sure there's no blanks. So like a healthcare power of attorney typically has some choices they need to make within that document. So you're going to breeze through. If anything's blank, you're going to ask them to fill it out. You can't fill it out for them. That's against the law. You can't tell them how to fill it out. That's against the law. But you can say, you have some choices to make here. I'll let you make those choices. And sometimes you have to read it to them. If you have to read it to them and let them make a choice that way, sometimes that's how people learn, and that's okay. But read it verbatim. One of the biggest things that I see on a power of attorney is, does this take place immediately, or does it take place when the doctor deems you unable to make those decisions on your own? And some people are being, how do I put it? They're not being forced. They understand why they need to sign a power of attorney over to their kids when they get older, but they are fearful that their kids are going to steal their money. So you have to, sometimes you have to read those things to them a few times and say, you get to make a choice if they can make choices on your healthcare now, or if they can't make those choices until the doctor says you can't. And it's the same thing for the financial power of attorney. So you have to breeze through there and see if there's any blanks, make sure they're not filled, have them, you need to identify them. I wouldn't even start anything without, like I walk in and say, we're going to start with your driver's license. I pull out my journal, I fill in my journal, I ask them to sign my journal, and I tell them that this is so the state knows where I am. Now, that is not actually what it's for. It's so that we have a record of it. But when I say that's so the state knows where I am, it makes them know that somebody knows that I'm at their house. So if they're going to try to kill me or something, somebody's going to know that's the last place I was. So I always say that. And they're like, yeah. And they have no problem. I have never, ever had an issue. People sign the journal. It's fine. They sign it. I put it away. Okay. And then we proceed. And I read through the document and I say, I just need to see what I'm doing here. And I take it and I take a moment to read that notarial block to make sure I know if I need to give an oath or not. And if I need to give an oath, I let them know that I need to issue an oath, and I need them to raise their right hand. And they go, oh, okay. And they get really uncomfortable and weird. And it's okay, because the feedback afterwards is, I got sworn in my kitchen. Like, that was really cool. I really wish I had recorded the girl who did that yesterday to me. She's just like, I couldn't believe it. I was telling my sister I got sworn in my kitchen. Like, yep, that happens. Okay, so that way you know you're either signing and moving on, or you're issuing an oath and signing and moving on. Okay, so that's one mistake, is when they don't do that. The other part is when they don't know how to complete a certificate, which is why I asked you to ask for those the notarial certificates. So a notarization is the act of what we did on those samples. Okay, a notarization isn't how many times they sign, it's how many times you sign. And in Michigan, a notarization is all encompassing, giving an oath, using an extra page, all of that is still $10. You cannot charge more for issuing an oath. In some states you can, not in Michigan. You cannot charge more if there's 3 people to sign and you're only signing once. It's $10 per your signature, per your notarization, not per signature by the signers. It's by you, okay? So it's $10 per notarial act. That whole thing that we did is a notarial act.
I thought it was, sorry to interrupt, but I thought it was like per stamp.
So it's the same thing, Shelby. You're not going to stamp without signing. So you're filling out the notarial block, you're signing, you're dating, you're stamping. That's $10. You're not going to put 3 stamps on one page and charge them $30. It's one time.
See,
now if there's 3 notarial blocks.
Okay.
Yes, that's what I mean. Like, how many? It's like $10 per stamp you do. Say if they have 3 papers that need to be notarized, you put a stamp on all 3 papers. That's $10 per stamp. That's $30. Correct?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Every time you sign and stamp, it's $10.
Okay, that's what I thought.
So when we refer to notarization, we are talking about signing and stamping. It's all one thing.
And I've gone to them and I've done 19 in a sitting. I've done 27 in a sitting. Like, and it's that times 10. So it's $270, it's $190. It's $10, it's $20. It's the same travel fee to get there, but it's per stamp. Every time I sign and stamp, it's $10.
How much do you guys usually charge for travel fees?
That's going to depend on where you are and what it's like. So my charge is $25, sometimes $30, depends on which way I'm traveling, for the first 20 miles. I do not charge to come back home. I only charge to get there because I'm charging basically $1 a mile, and that's what the tax write-off is for it anyway. So close enough. I do know a lady who was charging $50 flat fee for travel and wasn't getting any jobs and thought it wasn't worth it. I was going to her area, which is 30 miles, and I was charging $30. And she couldn't believe that I was doing work in her area. And I said, well, lower your fees, because charging, her area is not a high dollar area. It's actually pretty destitute where she lives. And she could be making a lot more money. She actually did finally lower her fees, and she started to make more money. But she was flat fee, because she believed the hype that I'm not leaving the house for less than $100. Well, that's all fine and good, but I will leave my house 3 times to make $150, where you're going to sit home and not make any of it because you won't leave your house for less than 100, which is fine. I'm paying my bills, you're not. How do you really want to do it? So Shelby, you're going to figure out how long it takes you to get to most places, and you're going to figure out what it costs you. It's not knowing your worth. That's a big hype thing too. It's knowing your costs. So you don't charge $100 if the people in your area can't support that $100. So you figure out what people in your area can support and you go for it. And if somebody says, oh, I really don't have that money, and it's really only 6 miles from you, so maybe you consider lowering your costs so you have that job. I don't know. I know that I'll go around the corner from my house to the fire department for $5 plus the stamp fee, and people appreciate that. But I'm home and back in 10 minutes. So I like $6 a minute. It works really well for me. So you have to figure out your travel costs based on your own, whatever you have. But know that you can't charge an inconvenience fee because it's 10 o'clock at night. That's not allowed by the law. You can't charge an inconvenience fee because there were 17 people in the house and you only got 1 stamp. That's not allowed by the law. You can't charge well, I'm worth this many dollars per hour, so I'm going to add that to my travel fee. I mean, good luck. If you think somebody's going to pay you $80 to go do 1 notarization, that'll probably happen once. Yes. Were you just practicing that? Or
well, I wanted to do it. I don't know if everybody saw my hand just popped up, but I know you have a list, and we're like 5 minutes before the end. So I don't want to spend the whole time talking about setting travel fees. I want to make sure you get everything on your list.
All right. So another common mistake when a notary writes his or her own name where it's meant for the signer's name, and that happens a lot. So that's why we're giving you these practice notary blocks. Make sure you understand what they look like. And all of these I gave you are like, they're so mixed up, jumbled, they're weird. Okay. Mistake number 2, not entering the correct venue. We went through that in the notarial block. State of Michigan, county of where my feet are planted. Just remember that. State of Michigan, county of where my feet are planted. That's what that goes at the top of the notarial certificate.
That's okay? What she means by venue. We didn't call it a venue when we were looking at it, but that's the venue.
That's what the venue is. It's not where you're having your wedding. And if the certificate comes to you and it has the wrong information there, so maybe it comes to you and it says state of Florida, county of Seminole, and you're not there. You put 1 line through it, you put your initials, and you correct it. You put Michigan. 1 line through, put your initials, put Macomb, wherever you are, okay? Don't scribble it. Don't X through it. Don't put a whole bunch of lines through it. It's 1 line through, initial, correct it. That's how you correct a notarial certificate. They need to be able to read what was there so that they can see, whatever it was, but that needs to stay there, okay? Mistake number 3, not printing or signing your name as it appears on your notary commission. We went through that earlier. If you recall, we talked about how Debbie's name is on her stamp. And so if your commission is is L. Hucker, then you sign L. Hucker. Now they did me dirty and gave me all 3 names. I've never used my middle name now, but now I know if my middle name's on something, it's a notarization because it's the only time I use it. So the name you write on a notary certificate must exactly match the name on your official notary commission. You must also sign each notary certificate with a signature that you filed with your commissioning official. Don't leave out or add an initial to your signature if it doesn't match what's on file. Now I'm going to tell you how they're going to find this out. So most of the stuff you do as a notary, never going to see court. Never going to, there's no checks and balances. But in the event that somebody wants to send this document overseas, your document, and they take it to be apostilled, and that goes to the Secretary of State. The Secretary of State will pull up your latest submission to the Secretary of State with your commission on it. So maybe you applied for Ron, maybe you applied for a name change, maybe you are writing with your left hand because you broke your arm. They're going to pull it up. And if that signature doesn't match, that is deemed invalid. So that's how we find out. It's the apostille time, or if it goes to court. If it goes to court, you end up in court. Somebody, I don't know, John Smith, whose uncle died, and he signed a power of attorney, or he signed his will and he left his son out of it. And John's like, hey, that's my dad. And he takes it to court, and that will's notarized because it was self-proving and it's your signature on there, but it's not right. Then that will is invalid. And when that will becomes invalid and it causes a hardship for the family, they can come after you for that being invalid, for whatever loss they had. Joanne, what was your question?
I wanted to ask, do you know when you'll be having some apostille classes?
It's going to be at the end of this series.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. So
can you give me an oath? Like, we talked about oaths, but I want to show them what an oath is, or should I give it to you?
We can do both. All right, I'll go first. Deb, I need you to raise your right hand and attest that the contents of the documents are true and that you're signing of your own free will.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's a no. It's very simple. Everybody's scared to do it. It's very simple.
All it is. Yeah.
That's it.
Okay. Let me lower these hands that go up automatically now. They're so adorable. Okay. Mistake number 4, improperly dating a notarial certificate. Mistakenly entering the wrong date or post-dating is a serious error. Check the calendar, make sure the date is the day you perform the notarization. So you cannot do it does not matter what date is on that document. We don't change anything on documents. We don't write on documents. We don't correct documents. We don't put anything on any documents except the notarial certificate. That's ours. That's the only place we write. So we cannot date our notarial certificate for any day that is not today. The day you're signing it, that's it. That's the only time you can do it. So don't get caught up with somebody from the bank saying, oh, can you just date it for tomorrow? That's a no. I have told attorneys, no. Don't be afraid to say no. When you say no and you cite why, you're seen as being you're respected more because you know what you're talking about. People will try to coerce you to do things that are not legal, and don't let them, don't get sucked into it. You're the professional. This is your commission. And if they want to go to somebody else to find somebody else who will do it wrong, bye-bye. I'm not getting involved in that. And I've turned people away for things like that. I will not do that. So the other thing is improper placement of your notary seal or stamp. The documents containing upside down, blurred, partial notary seal or stamp impressions are likely to get rejected. Okay, so here's a thing that I run into a lot is I will be signing on a table. You know, the new tables now, it's like wood and it's not flat, right? Carry a book. I use my journal to write on, or I'll use like my clipboard. I even got a little ruler. It's like 7 inches long. It's a 1.5 inches wide, and it's made of glass. And I carry it in my notary bag so that I can put it under that paper and stamp so that nothing gets curved and the whole stamp comes up. I had to sign on like the other day, New Year's Eve, I had to sign on my driver's seat in my car. And then yesterday or the day before, I had to sign on somebody's hood. Nothing's flat. So I carry that with me, and then I put it right under where I need to stamp, and I stamp on there. Because if that stamp doesn't come through clearly with all the elements being able to see, you put 1 X through it and you have to stamp it again. So upside down, 1 X through, stamp it again. So make sure that you know which way it's oriented so that you're doing it right every time. Okay, so we are just about out of time. Do we have any questions that anybody wants to ask? We have about 5 more minutes. We are so thorough. We are not so thorough. Okay.
I just want to say on the stamp, it usually tells you which one is the front.
Oh.
On my mini stamp, I know it does.
Mine doesn't. I had to make sure the stamp on top is the little sample thing is.
It says front.
Oh, on yours.
So I know it's which one is the front. And once you use it, practice. If you're just at home, practice stamping. I know Leslie does like, I've seen her do like this little rocking thing.
Rock it.
So I rock it now because I used to stamp and try to stamp it down hard. But if you stamp and then rock it a little bit, you're not going to smudge it because you're not moving. You're just making sure that all the corners get stamped. Yep. So practice. Yep. You got to stamp, practice.
Stamp. And then, you know what, if yours, like mine doesn't have the front, it doesn't say front on it, but I made sure that the top, when I put the sample in the top of it, I always look to see what's the top, but you could also put like nail polish or something on one side, you know,
or may have like this. I know this is the front, you know, and this back side doesn't have anything. So learn your stamp.
Learn your stamp. Practice, practice, practice. We'll be back here next week with some more great things, tips to get you started so that you can go in confidently and start notarizing. I mean, hey, you put the money into it, put the effort into it. Let's make sure you do it right. Okay. All right. You guys have a great night. Thank you for joining us. And we'll see you, perhaps Monday morning at 9 a.m.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You guys have a great night.
You have a great night, everyone.
Thank you.
Great.
Bye.